the premier sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes live on YouTube. And of course, I am not alone in the studio. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing good, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing great. The Los Angeles Lakers are NBA champions, and I know that makes you feel really, really good. It makes me feel not so good. There's a lot to talk about in sports, right? We just said the Lakers are NBA champions. The Eagles lose a game last week, which I don't think they had any business losing, and almost came back miraculously, but still lost the game. So we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, of course. Doc Rivers, I know, Jim, you were talking about this to me before we went live on the air. Doc Rivers just hired a new assistant, which looks also very promising. And outside of the Lakers and the Philadelphia 76ers, we have the Pelicans hiring a Van Gundy, or looking to hire a Van Gundy brother. We have the Houston Rockets looking to hire a Van Gundy brother. We have, what else do we have? We have Daryl Morey stepping down as his head GM position. And then we have Ty Lue, who looks to be apparently the new head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers. And so there's a lot going on in sports right now. We have the Braves in baseball. We have, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are also doing well. It feels like Tampa's becoming the center of the sports world. Maybe we can talk about that as well, Jim. Everything's so fluent. There's so many sports going on right now. We just never run out of things to talk about.
I'm thinking Tampa might be my new favorite city.
You might be moving to Tampa.
No more Philly sports.
Yes, and if you're listening to us on YouTube, thanks for joining us today. Our normal episode, 7 o'clock on Thursday. So thanks for coming in and listening to today's episode of Tony's Takes. If you're a new listener, never heard the show before, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. That way you get to watch the show and get notifications when we go live. We're at 19 subscribers right now. We'd really like to see that climb. We stagnated from this last week to this week. So if you know someone who would like the show, make sure to spread the news about it. I tweeted the episode out today. Twitter was down, actually. It was kind of weird. So hopefully we get more viewers for today's episode. Twitter, our usual means of communication, down. So if you know someone who usually listens to the show, make sure to text them the link to this live episode. And if you're not listening to Tony's Takes live on YouTube, probably listening to us on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to us to Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a 5-star review. All 5-star reviews get read right here on the show every Thursday. I want to start, and I think we need to start, with the Lakers winning the NBA title. And I want to start off with LeBron. This is the sound of him winning the MVP.
The finals MVP is LeBron James.
Yes, and I think that was Jim clapping in the background there as well. Oh. But what I really want to cover is this first clip. This is LeBron James talking about respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means
for me to be a part of such a historical franchise is it's an unbelievable feeling. Not only for myself, but for my teammates, for the organization, for the coaches, for the trainers, everybody that's here. We just want our respect. Rob wants his respect. Coach Vogel wants his respect. Our organization wants their respect. Laker Nation wants their respect. And I want my damn respect, too.
That is the part. I want my expletive respect. Even though I don't think that constitutes censorship in that regard. Don't think it's that bad of a swear word. He still is commanding or trying to command respect. And so, Jim, you're looking at me. You're looking kind of happy hearing that, because I think I know what you're going to say. I just want to say this real quick before I pass the mic off to you for your comments. Respect is not commanded. Respect is earned. And LeBron doesn't need to say, I got my respect, or give me my respect. He doesn't need to say any of that. That is not within his realm of control. All you can do is play the best basketball possible and call it a day and say, this was my resume and that's it. You can't just say, I need the respect. It's either you earn it, and the people on ESPN and the talking heads and the people like us here on Tony's Takes get to say, yes, LeBron, you've earned it. We respect you. You're so good. You're so good. You're so respected. Oh, I really respect you. Or we can go on ESPN and Tony's Takes and all those great shows go, I don't really respect you. You're not that great. But you don't get to tell us if your respect is what we get. You don't get to say, oh, you must respect me now. What are you going to say, Jim?
I don't really understand these comments. I don't get it.
By me or by him?
No, by him.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Am I on the right track?
I think you're on the right track. I don't understand how on earth somebody with four finals MVPs, 4 championships, why do you even have to say that? People already respect you. You're 35 years old. You're still playing in your prime. He hasn't really declined that much. So it's been one of the longest primes you've ever seen in professional sports, period. Not just basketball, any sport.
Yep.
And that's impressive. You can call him the greatest of all time if you want. You can call him that. But you can't. It's just blasphemous for him to say that he doesn't have respect. That I don't get that at all.
Yeah, because he does have respect. I respect him. He's a very good basketball player. There's no doubt in my mind that LeBron James deserves all the respect he has ever earned. He is that good. And this was the thing, before Jimmy D was on the show, and it used to be me and Rory on Radio 1851, the first thing that Rory and I agreed to when we were in the building stages of this great show was that we were never going to talk about the greatest of all time debate. And I don't think that was not on today's write-up.
No.
We did not put that on today's write-up. I never talk about it. It is futile. It means nothing. And I know I see some fellas in the chat. Steven Daniels goes, respect is earned. That's what we've been saying. What we've been saying, Steven. John Daniels goes, LeBron is second best of all time. And it's because of John Daniels' comments. This is why I'm going on this little tangent. It is impossible to list the greatest players of all time. It's a sport that is the only sport I can think where you can rank players is this: cycling, Formula One, NASCAR, and track and field. They are all time-oriented, definitive winners. That's it. Those are the sports. Racing sports are the only sports where you know who is the greatest of all time in those regards. You know who the fastest man alive is. It's Usain Bolt. There's no question about it because no one else has ever done it. But these subjective sports like basketball, football, baseball, you just never know who's the greatest of all time because the stats that think of baseball, how stats change in baseball. They mean batting average means something totally different compared to what it means today. Pitch count means something totally different than what it means today. Strikeouts, all of those things, they change over time. But the one thing you can say probably doesn't change over time is how fast you ran or how fast you can drive. Maybe you can say, oh, the cars are different in NASCAR, or the cars are different in Formula One. Yes, but someone definitively wins a race. You know how many races they won. You know that they are as good as they say they are.
Those sports that you mentioned, they're all mechanically limited, right? The cars can only go as fast as they can.
Right.
There's a theoretical limit.
Right.
Physics,
especially for an era, right?
Exactly.
70s NASCAR, everyone couldn't go faster than... You couldn't get to 200 miles an hour. It just wasn't possible at the time.
Now, the other sports, baseball, basketball, football, they all have different variables, different statistics. So the fact that all these statistics can intertwine into one player, where you get Michael Jordan who can do multiple things all at once, you get LeBron James that can do multiple things, and that's kind of the intangibleness that we talk about all the time. You're never going to see that in the mechanical sports that we're talking about, with the running and Formula One, etc., cycling. They all have their limits. But in basketball and baseball and football, it's almost limitless how good somebody can be because of, you got John Stockton who can pass the ball really well. And he was very good in his niche. But you have other people that can do a bunch of other things. Kobe Bryant, he's somebody that a lot of people will throw up in that greatest of all time conversation. So I think, just to bring it back to LeBron,
Yep.
by him saying, I want my respect, he's really just fighting for that. I want to be considered the greatest of all time. And I think that's what he really means there.
Yeah, of course that's what he means. Let's go to LeBron on his work ethic. We're going to bring it back to basketball. We went on a little tangent, but remember, fans, respect is earned. It's not given. And we don't measure greatest of all time on this show. Okay, LeBron on his work
Let
ethic.
you guys talk about it. One thing I can do is commit to the game. I put myself and my body and my mind in position to be available to my teammates. I've never missed a playoff game in my career, and the best thing you can do for your teammates is be available. And for me to be available to my teammates and put in the work, I just hope I make my guys proud, and that's all that matters to me. I make my guys proud, make the fan base proud, my family back home. I can't wait to get back home to them. Akron, Ohio, we did it again, and that's what it's all about.
Akron, Ohio? You're in Orlando, Florida, playing for a team in Los Angeles. You left Akron, Ohio. What are you talking about?
He's just representing that family proud.
You're
that's
representing Akron so well by winning a championship for Los Angeles. Okay. But what he did mention in that clip was availability is the best ability. It's what we've said on the show forever. We had Ben Golliver on the show a year ago, and that is what he told us live on the air. The best ability is availability. And I think LeBron's best ability is that. He's the longest, as Jimmy said earlier, the greatest player for the longest period of time. It's something that all the talking heads have said, between Colin Cowherd and Stephen A. Smith. All of them recognize that LeBron James' ability to be available and to be good for the last 15 years is unmatched by any other player, because Jordan at this age, I mean, the only one is like maybe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was winning this late into his career, but he wasn't the main show. LeBron was the main show of that team. Anthony Davis was a sidekick because it took LeBron to be point guard. It took LeBron to guard Jimmy Butler. It was LeBron who brought Los Angeles a championship. And I think that is the most important thing out of all of this that we can talk about. Yes, it was a shortened season. Yes, it was a weird season. You got a lot of break, and maybe that break helped LeBron because you went from your 80-game regular season to a 4-month break and then the playoffs. Okay, there's some validity to that argument. But in the playoffs, in the game, remember, everyone got that rest. Everyone got that rest. LeBron beat them all, took advantage, got some lucky breaks because the Clippers lost, but took advantage of it still and won.
Yeah, and, I've said multiple times on this show, I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan at all. I was actively rooting against LeBron James in this situation. But go back to that clip. Rewind if you're listening to this show on the podcast or even right now live. Listen to what he said. He has this work ethic. He's never missed a playoff game. He is so focused on getting his body and his mind right. He's always worked so hard. You can see he has these weird, funky drills that he does before games just to work on his balance. He worries about every single aspect of his game, the little things that you don't even notice. He is working on all the time. And if you don't love that about him possibly being one of the greatest players of all time, even if you despise watching him play and despise all his winningness, that quote right there, that made me enjoy watching this past finals, because there really wasn't that much to enjoy.
Real situation in the chat goes, let's forget the NBA. It's wiffle ball and slow pitch softball season, pal. Tyler O'Donnell goes, these are all team sports. You're right. Talking about the greatest of all time argument, NASCAR is kind of a team sport, but you're right. The driver is that's who people want to go for. And then Stephen Daniels goes, you're not going to talk about Jordan. No, we're not going to talk about Jordan, unfortunately, Stephen Daniels. But I did say Eagles talk is next. Just one more thing about the Heat that I want to bring up before we go on to Eagles, as Stephen Daniels rightly says, EAGLES, Eagles. Tyler Hero played too many minutes. And Eric Spoelstra put that rotation on a short rotation for the Heat. They played, on average, a man and a half less in the rotation than the Los Angeles Lakers. It was evident by the last game of the series. The Heat were absolutely gassed. Eric Spoelstra did what he had to do, but when the Heat go down in the first 2 games of a series, you don't stand a chance. You need to win at least one of the first 2. But to think you're going to crawl back like they tried to do on a shorter rotation is not how you do it. If you're playing a shorter rotation, you make sure I'm going to win 2 games, so I have the mental edge. And now that I can convince my guys to come in on short rotation and just win me 2 games. That's all you got to do. But it's a lot harder when you know that you can't afford to lose any of those games and you need to win every single one from here on out off a short rotation, and your lead guy is literally saying in the post game, I'm tired. It just can't happen. And that's the only thing I knock Spoelstra for.
Tony, I'm going to quiz you here on the show.
Oh, gosh. What is it?
All right, so can you give me an estimate about how many players were in the rotation for the Heat for all of the playoffs?
For all of the playoffs, I bet they used 5 starters, and they used average 4 off the bench, 4 to 5. 4.
Yeah, they had about 3. It was more like 8-man rotation constantly.
I was
through the
thinking
playoffs.
9. Yeah,
Guess how many players played on the last game of the finals?
7
11. So
for the Heat.
For the Heat, yes.
That's how tired they were.
That's how tired they were. You could see you had Solomon Hill coming into the game. I was like, who?
And
who
at that
is
point, it was a
Solomon
lost
Hill?
cause.
Yeah.
You know, the Heat were down so much.
And
but yeah,
to their credit, they tried to come back, and they didn't have that enough to get over the edge and get back. Yeah.
And some of the talking heads were like, LeBron closed it out. What? Closed what out? The door was closed.
They were cheering on the sidelines with 4 minutes to go in the game. J.R. Smith had his shirt off before the game even was done.
Julie Stratton says what John said. Fulgham is the best, a.k.a. it's Eagles talk time. Let's play. Jim, you want to give your thoughts first, or you want to get the Carson Wentz clip in?
Let's get that Carson Wentz.
Let's get the Carson Wentz clip in because it's about Zach Ertz, and I think Zach Ertz is gone in the near future. So let's play it. This is Carson Wentz talking about Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's how a defense is playing us. Sometimes it's part of the game plan. But kind of the same thing I said after the game. I mean, we're confident in Zach's ability to get open, his ability to separate, his ability to be where we need him to be, and he's a playmaker. Defenses still know that. Whether he's catching 10 balls a game or 1, defenses still know he's a playmaker and he's someone they got to be aware of. And I'm confident that he'll still get his. And as far as the chemistry, I feel good about it. It's something that we're just going to keep building. Every practice, every time we step on that field, him and I always get extra work in. So. It's not something I'm overanalyzing by any means, and I'm confident he'll have big games ahead.
Call me crazy. Turn those lights off. Call me crazy. I don't think there's any chemistry between those two. You know how I know there's no chemistry between those two? Because Ertz is making it very clear that he will not be re-signing with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we all know it. Don't fool us. And if the Eagles screw this up with Carson Wentz, after an embarrassing loss to the Steelers, right, they come back. They had no business losing that game once they were within 2, and yet they still lost the game, and Ertz was invisible out there. Once that happened, I got scared. I think the Eagles are going down a dangerous path with the players they have in the form of re-signing them, where they've paid Fletcher Cox and Carson Wentz too much money, and the guys who actually have performed well were not paid. And then, now that they're not performing, we're acting like we don't need them anymore. No. You need Zach Ertz because this team has 0 wide receivers, and you have to rely on your tight ends. And I texted Jim when Le'Veon Bell, from the absolute circus that is the New York Jets, was released. I said, Eagles are foolish if they don't sign him for certain money and put him in the slot. He's a little slower than he used to be. He's not a running back, but he can catch the ball, and he still has more speed than your average wide receiver. Put him in the slot. You need him. You need another playmaker, because the way you're treating Ertz and the way that your other wide receivers just don't, outside Fulgham plays 1 miracle game. Who knows if that's going to happen again? You need to sign Ertz. And if you don't sign Ertz, you trade him now before Dak Prescott incident happens, because he's a tight end and he takes a lot of hits and he sacrifices his body when he goes up for throws. Sign him now or trade him, and do it quickly, because you can't have him sulking around on a team that can still win the division, still make the playoffs, and still has a very good tight end in Goddard, who is younger, more spry, and can do the same things Ertz can do. Get rid of the redundancy then if it's such a big issue, and move on. Because you can line Ertz in the wide receiver spot if you really wanted to, but they don't.
So I get two things from that clip, right? And I don't want the first one we can blow right over, but one is Carson is willing to stand up for his teammates and he's willing to be a leader. So maybe that's part of the reason why Carson Wentz can last as long as he is with down play. So maybe he gets some slack cut from the coaches because he's able to keep his team together. He's a real leader and he will back up his players. Two, what the heck is Carson Wentz saying? Because that doesn't match anything that we're seeing. What we see is totally different than what Carson's saying.
Jim, don't believe your lying eyes. Your eyes are lying to you.
If I get gaslit by these players one more time, I'm not going to be able to stand it. I can't watch these conferences and actually sit there with a straight face. If they're doing extra reps, they need to do some reps with one defender that's pushing Zach Ertz. Because if that interception in the game was not Carson Wentz's fault. Zach Ertz got bumped a little bit and then just put his hands up expecting a flag to be thrown. We can't do that in times where we're down one score or we're down 3 or 2 points at that point. It was 31-29 when that interception happened.
I was thoroughly impressed with Wentz, how he brought this team back.
Yeah.
They looked good. Fulgham was making these great catches. The team and the playmaking looked correct. It looked like, they figured out this pretty good Steelers defense. And they still came short. And I just don't know if it's just we can't put it together for one game where now the Steelers are considered. That would have been a season-defining turnaround point for the Eagles. You just beat the Steelers, who are now in the power rankings in CBS and ESPN, 3rd and 4th. You almost beat them. You had on the road with fans for the first time. And maybe it was looking like without that preseason, the team was finally gelling after 4 or 5 games. And then they just, first of all, they don't even cover the spread. Which we're going to get into later, but come on. Come on.
The defense really blew that game. When the offense puts up 29 points for you, you gotta be able to hold them. And you have Claypool scoring 4 touchdowns. Stop doubling Juju because he didn't do anything the entire game. Maybe that's because they were doubling the whole time. But anyway, when you start seeing a guy popping off and getting 2-3 touchdowns, maybe it's time to cut him off from getting any more touches.
How many jet sweeps are we not going to be able to cover? That was easy 10 yards every time. And Schwartz is like, I'm going to put 6 guys on him. The wide receivers in the Steelers, it's kind of like the Chiefs. You need to rush 4 and pull everyone else back. You don't have the team to stay with any of those guys. And in man coverage, the jet sweep just absolutely killed the Eagles. And those little shallow routes, too. It was jet sweeps and shallow routes. And it bought Big Ben so much, just like, pass and dump. And when he finally went deep, he could hold the ball for as long as he wanted because he was just getting the ball out so quickly. The Eagles kind of had to respect that aspect of his game. I'm going to go to the chat real quick, Jim, before we go to our picks.
That's good.
We've got Tyler O'Donnell saying now Mahomes has another weapon. He's talking about Le'Veon Bell, of course.
Oh,
I mean, the Chiefs. Who would have thought? Well, I would have thought. I mean, Andy Reid loves his running backs, loves his wide receivers. It's a good pickup.
Not to mention, he loves his controversial running backs.
Yes,
too.
he does. Yes, he does. Stephen Daniels goes, I can't believe the Chiefs got Bell. They may go back to back. And Stephen Brownell, I always mispronounce Stephen's name, but whatever. Schwartz needs to go.
Ugh.
That's the one that really gets you.
He's putting his linebackers in bad situations, and I don't know. People, you know what, in the chat, let me know if you like Nate Gary or not. I'm a big Nate Gary fan. I think that he gets put into the worst situations because he has a horrible defensive coordinator. And I think if we were ever to get rid of Nate Gary would wreak havoc on us. So in the chat, if you don't mind, let me know what you think about Nate Gary, if you're a fan of him or not, because this guy is a super fast linebacker, and he runs the defense most of the time. So let me know what you think, because I think that he's a pretty good player.
Yeah. Let's keep talking about the Birds. Let's do our picks, okay, Jim? You want to start off with yours and give us the record? I wrote the record down, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah, so last week, Tony, you lost both. You went 0-2. I went 1-1 up until the end, where the spread was lost because the Eagles defense couldn't hold a touchdown.
Yeah, we were both looking at 2-0. Well, no, I was out. I was looking at 1-1. That over was crushed.
Yeah, that over was crushed. Yeah, so at one point I was like, yes, 2-0, but whatever. I'm 7-2-1, and Tony's 5-4-1. So if you rode with both of us the whole season, you'd be up money right now. So that's pretty good. We're looking at the spread against the Ravens. The Ravens are -7.5, and the Eagles are +7.5. Now this is via Sportsbook Wire earlier today.
We've strayed away from our official FanDuel. But that's okay. They weren't paying us.
Sorry, that's what happens when you get me doing the script.
Yeah.
So with this pick, I don't know. I think the Eagles are gonna win, so I'm gonna go +7.5 on the Birds.
Whoa!
Dropping it.
Okay, this is where I come and take the lead away from you because I'm going the over. I'm tired of betting the under. This has been the most overs in NFL history, by the way, for the fans out there of Tony's Takes. Most overs in NFL history. And I thought I was getting cute by betting the under 2 weeks in a row because I thought if someone's going to break it, it's the Eagles, because break that streak, right? Finally going to get an under. There's going to be a market correction. It's going to be the Eagles with a really bad defense. And the reason why I thought the under would happen is because I thought Carson Wentz would just not provide any scoring. And now it looks like the Eagles can keep up and at least score 20 points a game.
By the way, the total is 46.5. I didn't put that in.
46.5 is the total. The line is -7.5 for the Ravens. I'm going over, and I'm taking the Ravens at -7.5. The Ravens have beaten all their opponents by more than 10 points, except for the Chiefs, who are the best team in football right now. Yes, I said it. They are better than Green Bay. They are better than the Seahawks. They just lost one. It's okay. It's a division game.
So, Tony, as an Eagles fan, I got to let you know, the Eagles always win games that they shouldn't win.
I don't care.
So I'm taking the Birds +7.5, and I'm going to take the under because Lamar Jackson has not been looking good lately, and I think that if the Ravens are going to rely on their running backs like they kind of did last week, they're in for it with this defensive line.
But the Ravens are at home, aren't they?
I thought the Ravens were in Philly. But
they're playing
I
at
could
the
be
Link.
wrong.
Can you Google that real quick? Because Stephen Daniels says that having fans at the Link is going to be a big morale booster.
They're at the Link.
The only morale boosting for the Eagles is when they get booed because they stink.
First time at home with fans. This is going.
Going back to the chat, Mark Stratton goes, enough Eagles. How about bowling? I'm missing it and need to talk about it. I don't know anything about bowling.
Mark Stratton's a big bowler. He goes every Thursday night.
It's Thursday night right now. What, did they cancel the league?
He's out for recovery. Injury, yeah.
He's on the IR. Get better, Mark. We want to see you back in the PBA.
Well wishes.
Well wishes. Let's go. There were still some Eagles talk and stuff like that. So I want to go to. We're gonna have a caller call in 7:30. We have 2 callers tonight, which is a big improvement to Tony's Takes. Always like having callers. You know what? We'll do a little break for the show. If you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We're talking Eagles. We're talking Lakers. We're talking MLB baseball after this because it's the playoffs, and I think that baseball is the most exciting sport in this post-pandemic era. But we talk about it all here on Tony's Takes. And so if you're listening to the show and you're not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe to the show. Double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. On top of that, follow us on Twitter, @Tonys_Takes. Once again, @Tonys_Takes. What's up?
You got to hit the mailbag.
Hit the mailbag. Oh, yeah. The mailbag as well. Email the mailbag. I forgot. I didn't have that drop ready. Sorry, Jim. Email the mailbag. Tony'sTakes.1851@gmail.com. You see that beautiful ticker run across the bottom of your screen, and that's where you can see all the links for Tony's Takes. Oh, the chat is live. Who do you think you are? I am Pete Weber, PBA bowler. That's a great quote. Yeah, I forgot we're talking about PBA bowling. I want to finish a couple statements about the Eagles, or I want to talk about the Jets real quick. Actually, we're going to go to our caller. I'm a little schizophrenic today.
Let's do it.
Let's go to the caller. Today we got Tyler in Cinnaminson. Tyler, how are you? You're live on the air.
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Tyler. What do you want to call in about? See, I asked Tyler to call in to today's show because Tyler lived in Tampa for a little bit, so he's been rooting for the Rays. He actually knows a pretty good amount about them, and I wanted to talk about baseball after 7:30, so I told him to call in there. But I also know Tyler and I watch the Eagles game together every week, and we just... I don't know, suffer together is the best way to put it. So, Tyler, what's the first thing you want to talk about today?
Well, we'll talk about the Eagles first. I agree with Jimmy. The Birds always find a way to win games they shouldn't win, and he's right. Lamar has looked pretty average the last few weeks, so I have the Birds winning this game.
Okay.
You agree?
What else?
I don't.
You could switch from the Birds if you want. If you want to go back to Tampa. Oh, we gotta hang up. He hung up on us.
Oh no. Oh, we lost our caller.
You gotta tell me, hey, I'll call you back. He just goes, hold on, and hangs up.
Oh no. Well, let's go. Let's roll with that because there's something that he touched on right there. I had down. You had the Ravens defense that is, lightning fast. That's something that we're gonna have to worry about with our offense. We weren't supposed to score 29 points against the Steelers going into it. Everybody told us to be afraid of their defense. I wasn't too afraid of it. So I'm not going to be surprised if the Eagles actually put up some numbers against the Ravens defense. But I am worried about the running game with Miles Sanders because those linebackers and that secondary on the Ravens defense is pretty fast. So look for us to kind of try and air it out if we can. It's going to be tough. Without those wide receivers, we need Travis Fulgham to have a big game like he did this week, and hopefully Zach Ertz will come alive. So look for that game to be a close one, and that's why I think it's going to be an under, because I think there's going to be a lot of struggling offense on both sides of the ball.
I could not disagree more because this is a local game. The Ravens played in Baltimore last week. They're only driving up to Philadelphia. I think they're going to be well rested. I think Lamar Jackson has a lot to prove because I just watched the Titans beat the Bills, and we all know what happened last year with the Titans and the Ravens. I think, and I've heard a lot of national guys, like national media, mainstream media folks, talk about how Lamar Jackson is only as good as Ryan Tannehill right now. Ryan Tannehill's doing the same thing Lamar can do right now with a team that's probably a little bit better built in Tennessee. I think Lamar's got a lot to prove. Of course, I think Lamar's more talented than Ryan Tannehill, but Tannehill's played well. He beat a really, really good Bills team. So I think Lamar comes out with something to prove is my summary. I think they crush the Eagles. Eagles lose a devastating game. And, that's all she wrote.
You're picking the Eagles to be 1-5-1.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Close to my betting record at this point.
Here's the thing. I don't want to put an asterisk next to the Titans game, but I'm gonna.
Oh no!
Because they had their bye week already, so they had a week off. Yeah, but they couldn't
practice.
Yes, but they were fresh, and the Bills they've been having some tough games where they're coming back in the fourth quarter, and it's gonna be it's gonna be close with this Ravens Eagles game. It's gonna be closer than you think. So just look out for that.
Don't threaten me.
Look out for that.
I'm speechless. Here's my thing. I can't stand you, Jimmy. I need you to leave my house. How dare you say that about me? And threaten me under my own roof. But my other thing is, the Titans, maybe they play a certain type of offense where, it's really easy to come back and just play when you just hand the ball off. Just keep handing the ball off. That's what they're really good at. That's all they can do. Maybe that is why it was just so easy for the Titans to come back. But I stand by my fact. They couldn't practice. And guess what? They're smart for picking a style of football that's easy to just pick up right away. Power football has always been the best way to do it. I thought we had Tyler back on the line. Steven Brownell says, also disagree with Tony and us needing Ertz, and Goddard. Not Ertz and Goddard. Please use punctuation when you're in the chat. He's going in us needing Ertz, period. Goddard is almost as good, and Ertz will want too much. Okay, well, it's not my money, and I'm a self-described, I guess, Jets fan, and if you can call me that. They don't run their team really well either.
It's just crazy how you can see so many similarities across sports, and I don't want to get into baseball yet, but it's just crazy that you can see the similarity between.
Whoa, sorry about that.
You can see the similarity between Zach Ertz and JT Realmuto, and you can see just how both players are just going to ask for way too much money, more than what they're actually worth, and then the team that they want to actually play on and stay with, and possibly win another championship with. It's just not going to happen because they can't get over the money grab.
It all comes down to the dollars, Jim. That's a fact.
Yeah, but you get Tom Brady, who sacrificed his salary every year just because he knew he was going to win more championships.
It's different when you're on a competent organization.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're all not so lucky to have a competent organization. Yes. Coming after the front office again.
So the reason why Tyler's phone died, Tyler hung up because his phone died, apparently. Jim, let us know if you have a caller. That's a hint for you. I was looking at some power rankings, and I don't mean to slow the show down, but I was looking at some power rankings, and they had Green Bay at number 1, Steelers at number 2, Seahawks at number 3, Chiefs at number 4, and Ravens at number 5. And so I come up with my own little power rankings for you, Jimmy, and it goes like this. This is Tony's power rankings. I think I'm going to do this for the next couple of weeks. This is my power rankings for the NFL right now. I have Green Bay at number 1. Aaron Rodgers, best quarterback in the league right now, not named Patrick Mahomes. They've played well, and they haven't had that slip-up game just yet. Now, they do have to play the Bears soon, and so that's going to be interesting. However, they still haven't had that slip-up game just yet, and so I'm putting Green Bay at 1. I'm going to put the Chiefs at 2 because they had the slip-up game against the Raiders the other week. I'm putting the Seahawks at 3, the Ravens at 4, and the Bills at 5. Yes, the Bills lost, but I'm still taking the Bills at number 5. Hey, I got to fix this audio thing real quick, Jim. I don't know why it's acting up. I think it's just the audio jack. Here, can you have him call my phone number? Sure. Sorry, we're setting up our next caller. I have the Bills at 5 because for the very fact that I think they're still well built, and while they did lose like the Chiefs, I still had them in the top 5 for last week, and I'm not willing to take away from them when they lose to the Titans, who I have as the 6th best team in the league. They were my unofficial first one out for that. And so that's my list. Green Bay, Chiefs, Seahawks, and Ravens, Bills. I think it's a pretty good list, and we'll see what they have to do next week to keep that listing. We'll see how it is.
Tony, I'm in agreement with you except for one little thing.
You like that list?
I like the list. I think I would put the Bills and the Titans above the Ravens.
Bills and Titans above the... Okay, you're going to say the Ravens are frauds. Maybe they are after next week.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see how they face the Birds in the link with fans. Okay, we're going to go to John in Summerdale. John, you're on Tony's Takes. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this.
What are you talking about? Birds? JT
I want to talk
signing?
I want to talk about the greatest inning in MLB history.
Okay, little MLB talk. I like it. Go.
Yeah, the Dodgers putting up 11 runs in the top of the first inning yesterday. That was, obviously the biggest morale boost anyone's ever seen in the playoffs after being down 2-0.
Okay, so do you think then that the Dodgers are going to make this wild comeback against the Braves and win it all? Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I don't see it being that wild of a comeback. I see it being. It's the series is 2-1. It's a 7-game series right now, so it's still anyone's. I think them winning that game yesterday and the way that they did it is going to be enough to push them ahead for the win on the World Series.
So
not even just the CS.
So what I'll say about the Dodgers is this: Game 2, the bats come alive, right? They're up 9. The Braves are up 9. They have a wild first inning, kind of like the Dodgers did last night, and but the Dodgers come back, right? They had that 7-point run. They come back, and then the Dodgers score 15 the next night. 7-15. That's no joke. Your bats are kind of heating up, and so I think if there's going to be any point of praise for the Dodgers, it's got to be, these bats look good. Can the Braves' 2 aces, who are 12-2, hold them off? We just don't know until they get to pitch again.
Yeah, like you said, the Dodgers came from to Game 2 in the bottom of the 9th, putting up 4 runs to lose it by 1 run, which was a shame because they really seemed like they were going to put it together. And come out the next day and put up 11 runs in the first inning, breaking an MLB record. It's going to be hard to stop the mojo that comes after something like that. I don't care who your pitchers are.
Speaking of mojo, let's talk about Altuve real quick. Some were saying, people in the mainstream media, they want to say yips for what, 2 errors in one game, and then he spanks a home run out of the park to come back to Tampa, and they're winning right now against Tampa.
Yeah, 3-2. I got it on right now.
Is Altuve out of the yips? And did he have the yips because he's a cheater?
I hate them as much as the next guy because of what they did to the game. I think it was a disgrace, but I think Altuve he's obviously a good player. He was good enough to get to the level he's at, but I mean, I don't even see them winning tonight to move on. So I don't even think this is a conversation that's like gonna be super crazy tomorrow. It's gonna be it's over and they're out of it.
I hope they win so we can play this clip next week and I prove you wrong, John. And I'll point to you in the chat when that happens.
All right, I hope you do, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Rays Dodgers, which is going to be a very exciting power bat versus stud pitcher matchup in the World Series. It'll be a fun one to watch.
Okay, before I let you go, give me your Eagles pick for the week. Who wins? Eagles or Ravens?
Ravens by 3.
Oh, no. You can't come on the show and then pick the Ravens.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
I've been low on the Eagles since before the season started, so
I don't blame you. John in Summerdale, thanks for calling in on Tony's Takes. I'm just going to have to drop you here right now. Hung up on.
Gotta love the honest opinion, though. You know, at least if he really felt that the Ravens were going to win, at least he threw that out there.
I like how he says they're going to cover the spread, though.
Yeah.
Great. So I lose both ways. I'm proven wrong that the Ravens can't even win, and then the spread happens, and I'm still a loser in that regard. Great. Let's keep talking baseball, though. I like baseball. I think it's pretty interesting how the Braves, who are the most well-rounded lineup in all of baseball, have, I don't know, done the impossible. They're going to upset, well, not done the impossible. They're going to do everything. They're going to do the same thing that every World Series champion has done for the last 5 years. Upset the Dodgers and ruin their season.
Oh, no.
That is what World Series champions do. They take away champions from the Dodgers. And it's a great feeling. It's great to see. The Dodgers are an overhyped, overpaid, over-talked about team in the MLB. And the Braves in little old Atlanta are never talked about. They're in a division that is probably the most successful division in the last 3 years of baseball because the other team that won are cheaters. And the only people who could beat the cheaters are the Nats. And no one talked about the Braves. No one talks about Freddie Freeman, who's kind of like Mike Trout, who gets things done and no one really talks about, doesn't get his due respect, and spanks the ball out of the park any day of the week, anytime, any place. Ronald Acuna Jr., best young player in baseball. The Dodgers, yeah, sure, they have, what's his name? Bellinger. Yeah, with the funky swing. Acuna's better than Bellinger.
Bellinger just robbed a home run last night, and then the next at bat hit a home run.
I don't care. Acuna's
it was a
better.
four-run swing. He robbed a 3-run shot and then hit a home run.
4-run swing. They're up by 15.
I know, but it's an amazing play.
Oh.
Even when they're up by 15, he's still doing stuff like that.
Don't give me Cody
It's
Bellinger
amazing.
hype. Don't do it.
No, I need to call you out on this show, all right? Because you lived down in Atlanta.
I did.
And you're a fan of the Atlanta Braves.
I am not a fan
Yes,
of the
you
Atlanta
are.
Braves.
Admit it. That's why you know so much about them. It's
I-
not because you like sports. It's because you like the Braves.
I have secretly followed the Atlanta Braves, and I know that they've got the best 2 pitchers in all of the postseason baseball right now.
Oh, this is true.
I rooted for the Nats. I'm rooting for the Braves. Maybe it's because I'm ashamed to be a Phillies fan.
Fried is amazing, and I don't blame you for being ashamed to be a Phillies fan because it's been hard, to say the least. But the Braves are good. They have great pitching. I still don't see them getting out of this Dodgers series. The Dodgers will make it to the championship. I picked them to win it last week, win it all.
You did.
I'm starting to.
And I picked the Yankees and lost.
I'm starting to hedge my bet a little bit because the Rays just look unstoppable. And I don't know if anybody from the NLCS can beat the Rays. One of the things that I looked at, and in the way that it's paralleled, is the MLB versus the NBA. And I see the AL looking like the West and the NL looking like the East. And you have the Dodgers versus the Braves, reminding me of like the Heat versus Celtics. It's going to be a tough series. You might see a 4-2 series. You might see a a 4-3 series, something really close.
Yeah.
And then you just see the Rays just kind of waiting to see who's gonna finish second. Like it just feels that way. Feels like the Lakers did, and that's like how the Rays are gonna be.
I will say this. A lot of people say the AL is been better than the NL for the last, 10 years. I'm willing to say that's changing. I think the NL has better teams right now than the AL does. The Yankees, they're good, and the Tampa Bay Rays are good, but the Rockets don't look that good. Like, in all reality, they don't. Greinke literally just, willed them to win last night. And Dusty Baker's a genius. I guess that's the only other way you could put it. And then the A's never do anything that you want them to do. There's just all these teams in the AL that, sure, they post really nice records, but really, I feel like I watch the NL and it's the St. Louis Cardinals are upsetting teams. And look how deep they went last year. They get hot. And then the Nationals were a team that just got hot and they beat everyone in their path and had no problem doing it. I think the NL, there's something about it. There's maybe a little magic to them.
Well, let's take it a step further. Do you see the same thing for the West versus the East in the NBA? Do you see that the East is getting better while the West, and you can credit Golden State with their injuries and everything as a part of it, but you can see those are really kind of just top heavy over there.
Yes.
And, there's not really much substance after
it's very, very top
after the
heavy.
Lakers and the Clippers, right?
Right, and look how close they were battling for. They were always battling for the wild card spots in the NL. There's always they're always jockeying position. Compared to the AL, it's with 10 games to go, you kind of know where everyone's stacked a little bit. It's just teams beat who they're supposed to beat in that league. Compared to the NL, I feel you have the bottom three, you have your top three, and then all of a sudden the Miami Marlins are crushing the Phillies every other night. You're oh, well, there goes our wild card spot.
I just thought it was interesting. I came across it and I was like, this seems pretty accurate, the parallels amongst sports.
Mark Stratton goes, if you win something, you'll get your payday in endorsements and commercials. You don't need to be greedy with the contract. He's talking about Ertz.
Yeah.
Very true.
That is true.
Even though he has won something.
Or if you're like Tom Brady, you just marry someone that's going to make more money than you.
That is very true as well. That's kind of, people forget about that. Let's go back to basketball. This was originally a basketball show, but we talk about all sports because we just like talking, and that's for sure. If you like what you're listening to on Tony's Takes, make sure to subscribe to us, like the video, and keep looking out for new and live streamed episodes of Tony's Takes. Really do appreciate everyone listening to the show right now. First of all, we got the Van Gundy brothers. One's Jeff, who's the one I don't like, used to be the Pistons coach, is interviewing with the Pelicans, who I think is a terrible pick. And then Stan Van Gundy, who's the announcer, if I'm correct on this, for ESPN, is going to the Rockets, apparently, or talking to the Rockets, apparently. Stan Van Gundy's actually won a championship, I believe. I'd like to be fact-checked on that, though, if you can get the chance, Jim. He did coach the Knicks, I believe, and he always talks up a big game and talks about how players are really soft. If you've ever watched ESPN with Stan Van Gundy, it's always players are soft, and I know what to do for reffing. That's what he says. He loves to say that. Now you also have Ty Lue, who I think is better than those two other brothers. Ty Lue has won a championship with LeBron James. He knows how to coach ego. And if did I say Ty Lue to the Rockets? I apologize. I mean Ty Lue to the Clippers. Ty Lue can manage Kawhi Leonard, which I don't know if anyone can manage Kawhi Leonard better than Doc Rivers. But if he can, the team is still championship eligible. The team still has great talent in Los Angeles for the Clippers. And maybe Ty Lue, who's a Laker, former Laker, can unlock the potential of Kawhi Leonard. And it's not even the potential of Kawhi Leonard you got to unlock. It's the potential of Paul George, really. I mean, let's just be honest. Let's not sugarcoat it. Paul George is the one that you need to mentally unlock and say, look, you have one of the worst playoff records I've ever seen, playoff P. Wake up. Wake up. Play better. Because this team can win if you're not shooting and hitting the side of the backboard every other shot and missing threes. Playoff P, my gosh. You're terrible.
By the way, I don't think either Van Gundy has won a championship.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Ty Lue's a championship caliber coach. And
is he though?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
But I think the biggest, because he's a players coach, and this is a players league. Oh my gosh, this happens every time. I am done using CBS links. Every time I open up a CBS article, it's some dramatic video. But I was really going to talk about Daryl Morey stepping down. I think that's the biggest news out of all of these. We all know Daryl Morey. Hopefully YouTube doesn't censor this. He tweeted something about China. And no one in the NBA liked it because they don't like to acknowledge the fact that there's actually some bad stuff they sponsor. The NBA, they're in cahoots with a group of people that are bad hombres, is the best way to put it, in China. And Daryl Morey tweeted out the thing about Hong Kong, and we always knew after that Daryl Morey was going to be on the back burner of the organization of the NBA. They just need to get him out because it's just a bad look for the overseas market. That's just a fact. And so Daryl Morey, is according to CBS Sports, steps down as the Rockets GM, but will remain in an advisory role to assist in coaching search. AKA, he's not really stepping away from the organization because Daryl Morey is too valuable to allow to walk away. Because he's the genius who taught Sam Hinkie everything Sam Hinkie ever knew. He's the genius behind the Sloan Conference. Is the genius behind the James Harden trade that was pretty much a steal. So I want to read this article about Daryl Morey just real quick. After well over a decade of serving as general manager of the Houston Rockets, Daryl Morey is stepping down from that role. According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, the decision to walk away from the Rockets was reportedly 100% Morey's, and he approached owner Tillman Fertitta about a potential split after the Rockets were eliminated in the Western Conference semifinals by the Los Angeles Lakers. Morey's replacement is already in-house as the Rockets are planning to promote Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations Rafael Stone to the role of General Manager per Adrian Wojnarowski. Stone has been with the Rockets since 2005. Also, Ellie Whitus will be promoted to Assistant General Manager. Morey's full departure from Houston won't be immediate, as he will remain in an advisory role in order to help Houston complete its ongoing search for a new head coach. Daryl Morey's job is safe, Fertitta said. I'm sure he's going to pick the right head coach. It begins and ends with the general manager. You can talk to me all day long. I personally wouldn't know what coach to hire. That's why you have a basketball ops team that's made of a half a dozen people that use all kinds of analytics and experience. They'll make a recommendation to me. They do about everything. I am the sign-off guy. It's the owner talking about who he's going to hire. Morey, who signed a 5-year extension with the Rockets last year, has been the team's general manager since 2005. Houston had the league's second-best regular season record during that stretch. Houston also had the league's longest current playoff streak with 8 straight postseason appearances. Despite the success of the franchise enjoyed under Morey, the Rockets were never able to make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah, we knew that. They came closest in 2018 when they lost the Western Conference Finals in 7 games to the Golden State Warriors, which some people say was the make-or-break moment for the Daryl Morey experiment. They were one shot away, one injury away, and it was all thrown away by a Chris Paul injury, unfortunate. Jim, does Morey stepping down impact the Rockets' ability to win next year?
No. Because these players that are actually on the Rockets are so talented that they are essentially what Kyrie Irving was saying, that he doesn't need a head coach.
Which we never talked about that on this show.
No, we haven't.
When Kyrie Irving went out there and said, yeah, I don't need a coach. What? You don't need a coach?
It is crazy, but think about this team. They could use somebody like Ty Lue, who's just going to step back and just kind of let them do their thing. Think about the roster, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. It's been a depressing episode of Tony's Takes, Jim. I'm going to say that. It's been a little depressing because we talk about the Eagles and how they're struggling and how they're going to continue to struggle against the Ravens. We talked about how the Braves are going to win the championship, and no one likes to see a divisional team win a championship. And by we, I mean I have said all these things. So I want to end on a funny story. This happened to me last week, and I think I'm going to try to end all of Tony's Takes with a funny story before we close out the show, because we're kind of getting to the end, and I think we've run out of everything to talk about. So the other day I went to ShopRite, which is a local grocery store, for those who don't know, in the northeastern area where I live. apparently where I live. I don't want to give out too much information on the internet. But I was at ShopRite, and this is 7:30 a.m. I do the grocery shopping really early. It's a Saturday. And I'm walking to go get a cart. Now, no, we're in the COVID era, right? We don't share, or we don't like to touch surfaces that other people have touched ever since this pandemic started. But I'm walking down the aisle of cars towards the shopping cart carriage, the place where you're supposed to put your carts away. And as I'm walking into I was going to say the store, but into this little storage area where they put the carts. So, if you put your groceries in the car in the parking lot, and then you put it in the little carousel, and they'll take it out, and then they'll put it by the front of the store afterwards. And I'm not one of those guys who leaves their cart. You're just rude if you do that. And so, as I was walking to go and pick up a cart from one of the carousels, hit the table again, a man all the way down. This is at least 50 meters down the aisle, away from the store. He is walking away from the store. He has just put all his groceries away. He goes, because I think he was lazy and didn't want to bring his cart back. He goes, "Hey, I got a cart for you." I turn around, and I literally was not looking at him. I turn around, and the cart is flying down the aisle the car aisle. No one's behind it. He has pushed it, and like a curling match, sent it 50 yards down the aisle of cars. This cart is just literally careening down, and I have to catch it 50 meters away. And he doesn't shout till it's like 25 meters down the way. What? Just because you didn't want to bring it back? You go, "Hey, I got a cart for you." And you know how the cart's got the front wheels? They're all wobbly? If they could have easily gone into the Mercedes next to me.
What happened?
It was so...
What was this guy thinking?
He wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't thinking. And so that is my story for today. A little uplifting story for all of those who listen to Tony's Takes. What'd you think of that one? Could have been better.
No, that was good. I do have one little thing I want to share that I'm really excited about, and that's the Sixers hiring, and I looked up the pronunciation so you can,
Oh, we hid this in the back of the show. That's
hid this
my
in the
bad.
back of the show. It's all right. Dave Yeager is apparently how it's pronounced.
Jägermeister.
I'm really excited because he helped kind of mold Marc Gasol into the Defensive Player of the Year that he is, multi-time All-Star, and I really think that that's going to help the side of the ball with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I think that's going to be really exciting, and you got Doc Rivers, who's supposedly the offensive mastermind. So you have two sides of the ball that are going to be excelling, and I want to throw that out there into the radio waves, and I hope you guys are as pumped up about the Sixers as I am.
Into the radio waves. Into the radio waves. We're going to exit out of today's episode of Tony's Takes. Jim, thanks for being on the show as always.
Thanks, Tony. I love being on here.
Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube as we close out the show. If you really liked us, share it with a friend, please. You share it with one friend that you have who doesn't listen to the show. We get to grow our audience that much more. And the chat is funnier. We're trying to get callers more and more. As you can tell, if you're a usual listener to Tony's Takes, spread the word and get the word out about Tony's Takes. And one way you can do that is to subscribe to us on YouTube. We really do appreciate it, to all our fans, especially those who are live in the chat. As you know, you type in the chat, we do converse with you. So really do appreciate everyone and their active participation today as well in that. So make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Double click the notification bell. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, that meant you missed the live show on YouTube, which airs 7 o'clock on Thursdays every week. But that's okay. You're listening to us to Apple Podcasts because that's where we put the show recording after this. Leave a 5-star review. We read all 5-star reviews on the show. Leave a 5-star review. Gets read on the show, and we appreciate it even more there. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Just searching Tony's Takes. You'll see the beautiful logo, the one that you see in YouTube as well. In addition, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. And if you want to send us a take via Twitter, you can direct message the account. If you want to send a take, yes, that's right, by the very infamous...
The mailbag!
The infamous mailbag. Email us at tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. That's how you get into the mailbag. That's right. Other than that, thanks for listening to Tony's Takes, the best show in sports talk radio. We look forward to seeing everyone here next week, live on YouTube, 7 o'clock. Thanks for listening. We will see you then. The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.